Hey now Deadheads and stereo lovers, here again with another video. Today we're doing something a little bit different. If you're familiar with my channel, I typically do unboxing videos. I do comparisons between new pressings of records and original pressings, and occasionally I show some knickknacks, a little bit of bric-a-brac, some ephemera. But today I've got a few requests for showing off my stereo, and so if you're new here, I'm going to be showing off my stereo today. I'll show each component, tell you guys why I chose it. I'm going to link to the components down below in the description with an Amazon affiliate link, so if you end up buying something, I might get a kickback. I don't really know how that works, but just a heads up that that is an affiliate link. But I would love to show you guys my stereo, starting with the front and then working our way to the back. And as the title says, this is I call this a budget stereo system. This is my budget. This is what I think is a reasonable amount to spend for relatively entry-level mid-fi. It's not high-end products, but along the way I will give you what the upgrade path might look like. So what I might be looking to buy if I win the lottery, I come into a lot of money, or even just those smaller incremental upgrades along the way that I'm interested in. To start things off, I'm going to show you guys my turntable, and this is kind of the analog input chain part of the stereo. And it's actually funny, this part of the stereo doesn't live within my stereo room. When we started arranging furniture in this apartment, my fiance and I, the record cabinet actually started living in the living room. This was before I got these speakers, before I got this amp, the CD player, and all of that. And it was a Sonos first system, and so we like to listen to music in every room of our apartment. It's not a big apartment, but we like to have speakers everywhere. And so we've got the sound bar in the living room, a cheap IKEA Symphonisk speaker in the kitchen, so that when we're cooking, we can rock out to streaming music or our analog, our record collection. We've got a speaker in the bedroom, in the bathroom, but in this room, this is a no Sonos room. And so when we start by looking at the record player, it is a U-turn orbit turntable, and the one without the phono preamp. The reason I chose to not get the Pluto phono preamp built into it is because I didn't want that. I wanted the ability to kind of mix and match and choose the right phono preamp for my preferences. And so you see off to the side, that little silver and black box is the Project Phono Box S2. Big fan of this phono preamp. I bought it actually a while ago, back before I had any other of my stereo separates, any other components. I just had the record player. I had this Project phono preamp, and then I had that big white box, which is a Sonos Connect. Older piece of hardware. I don't think that they even sell them new anymore, but this piece of hardware is actually pretty ideal for connecting your turntable directly into a wireless Sonos system. Additionally, on my turntable, you'll see the Ortophon Blue cartridge. Now, this turntable, when I originally bought it, came with the Ortophon 2M red cartridge. I had upgraded to the 2M Blue when the red cartridge started to wear out. So I was happy with the performance of the Ortophon 2M red, but when it came time to replacement, I said, oh, might as well upgrade. Now, I've looked at other options. I think the 2M Bronze and the 2M Black are the kind of higher end in that Ortophon 2M line. Definitely been eyeing the specs page for those. Maybe one day, nice to haves, but I'm really pleased with the Ortophon 2M Blue. And then finally you see that little wooden box. Inside that wooden box is my record weight. That is a Project branded record weight. Got that as a gift about a year ago. I really like it. It's great for records that might be a little bit warped, not in the best condition. Now, I try to get as many clean, new editions, audiophile grade, 180 gram vinyl as I can, but sometimes you get something that's out of print for a while. You pick up something rare at a record store and it's not mint condition, and when it's not mint, the record weight comes in handy. Similarly, you'll see underneath the turntable, that's actually an IKEA cutting board. A little hack that I learned from some audio forums. I don't think it was Steve Hoffman, but another audiophile forum. Someone recommended to reduce vibrations for your turntable as it sits on a record cabinet, to just put this IKEA cutting board underneath it. And then moving down below the record player, a lot of people like various IKEA products for record storage, my go-to is the IKEA Besta. I like this one because I've got a cat. I don't want my cat, tearing at the sleeves of my records, tearing things apart. I don't like things getting dusty either. And so I like the fact that with the Besta, I can put doors on it. And they're just as stackable as any other IKEA record storage solution. As you can see, I have the plastic dust cover removed from the turntable. I just take this off when I'm recording videos. I don't want to have any reflection. I really want to showcase the turntable itself. But just to the right of it, and right behind it right now, you can see I've got a little IKEA shelf. This is a little picture rail shelf, as they call them. And on the left side, I've got my selection, my now playing shelf, and on the right side is my fiance's. And so I'm currently spinning a little Robert Hunter live in '85, and then my partner, my fiance, is listening to this old Sylvanier Metz recording. So a little bit of nostalgia for her. Coming around the corner from the living room into my home office, we can get into the core of the stereo right now, and that is over here. So let's zoom in a little bit. I'm going to start with the top right. On the top right is my amplifier, and that's a PS Audio Sprout 100. Felt like a really big investment at the time, a couple years ago when I picked it up, but I have not regretted it, and I can see myself utilizing this amplifier for quite some time. It's got a phono preamp on board, but as you can see from my external phono preamp, I don't use it. I prefer the Project Phono preamp to the one that's built into the PS Audio amplifier, so I just go straight into the analog channel with that. Also going into the analog channel via the splitter in the back, this Sescom splitter is my CD player, and I'll get into that in a second. The DAC on this I think is pretty good. I've got no complaints. I go directly into this into the DAC via the USB port on the back. Bluetooth I don't really use because I've got all these inputs already. No need to Bluetooth from my phone or from my computer. And then the headphone amp on the front, that headphone jack works pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied with that. But getting into the DAC a little bit more, I plug my Mac Mini directly into this amp via the USB Type B port, I believe, on the back. This Mac Mini is salvaged from a friend's old file server. I don't need a lot of power. I'm just hosting a bunch of MP3s and Flac files on this file server. I've got the CD player sitting on top of it, or that CD drive that I use to copy my CDs over to my file server, and then that's a tiny little external USB hard drive that's sitting on top of that CD drive. On this Mac Mini, it's mostly file server. It's running a Plex server. I'm a big fan of Plex. And this is how I control my music. I don't have a streamer. I don't have, a fancy device that uses Roon or any of that. I just use Plex Amp and Plex Media Server. And so I actually mostly stream at home from my iPad. I can also listen to all of my music on the go via the Plex Amp app. So if I'm at work, if I'm riding the train, if I'm out and about, I can listen to any of my CDs that I had ripped to my file server at home anywhere that I want to. And I can share that with friends too if I want to grant them access to my server. But let me show you on the iPad what it looks like to use Plex Amp. You can do all sorts of things. You can go into your albums. You can make playlists. On mine, I like to rearrange some of my Dave's Pick CDs from the Grateful Dead so that they are in the right order, because they're not always on the right order on the actual discs. Super straightforward, super easy to use. I recommend it. It's pretty cheap to use. And that's my favorite way of getting my files, my MP3s and my FLAC files, to my speakers and to my phone and wherever else. And then underneath both of these devices is my Cambridge Audio CD player. Nothing fancy. It's a pretty good CD player. I think I paid about $300 or $350 for it. I wanted something that I wasn't going to immediately regret or want to upgrade right away. And so I went with this. I don't know if I could hear the difference if I had a $900. I think Leak makes a really handsome $900 CD transport, and so if I was going optical into an amplifier via a CD transport, I probably wouldn't be able to hear the difference on my system. It would take a lot of upgrades before I could get there. And so I'm pretty happy with this Cambridge Audio CD player. And most of the time, I rip all of my CDs to files anyway, and so I'm listening to files instead of those physical discs. Upgrades that I would do in the future, I think I'm going to have this PS Audio Sprout 100 for quite some time. I'm a big fan of it. If I won the lottery, I would love, my grail of an amplifier is the Macintosh MC275 2 amp. But it's just so pretty. I think that's my dream amplifier, that one day, if I could have that amplifier, I would be the happiest man. Otherwise, I'm not planning on upgrading my CD player anytime soon. I don't think I'm going to replace my file server anytime soon. And so I can now get into the speakers and tell you about these KEF Q350s. Now, I would refer to these as very utility speakers. Nothing fancy, no digital inputs, no built-in amplifier, no way to stream to them directly via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. They're dumb speakers, and they are beautiful for that. The tweeter is built into that main driver, ported subwoofer in the back, or bass port in the back, which can be plugged. They're sitting on top of some Monoprice monolith stands. I think they're the 32-inch version. Again, nothing fancy, fairly straightforward, and I'm really pleased with them. I think maybe at some point I would like to upgrade to the KEF LS50 Metas. I think those are really handsome speakers. I've heard really good things about them. But for the time being, I'm really pleased with these KEF Q350s. I would recommend them to friends. I've actually recommended them to a lot of friends who picked up the KEF Q150s. A little piece of advice, though, they're almost always on sale. Whether you poke around, if Best Buy doesn't have them on sale, Crutchfield might, or KEF might directly, or Amazon. And if they're not on sale, just keep checking for a few months before you pull the trigger. They're a little bit expensive at, I think, about $750 retail, but I picked them up for about $500. And I would say, yeah, you can usually find them for about $500. And so that's a budget tip for you if you're building a system from scratch. Finally, I can share my headphones. And those are the Sennheiser X-Drop HD6XX headphones. And so those are modeled on the Sennheiser HD, I think it's the 650, not the 600. But they're about half the price if you buy them from drop.com. It took a little while for me to get them. I think it took about 3 months for them to ship after I bought them. They're very precise headphones. I think if I was going to upgrade or if I was going to replace them, I've been entertaining the idea of buying a pair of Hi-Fi Man Edition XS's. Those sounded really good. I tested those out at a hi-fi store in Manhattan a couple months ago, and I think they sounded fantastic. Much warmer, much more presence. I really like the soundstage of those when compared to the HD6XXs. But you really can't go wrong with these Drop and Sennheiser collaboration headphones. They're really quite good, and I've listened to a lot of records, a lot of files, a lot of CDs with them, put a lot of mileage on them, and really quite pleased with them. So I would recommend these, but they're definitely not the best or the only headphones that you would want to consider. And that is it for my stereo. I think I've covered all of the components in my stereo chain. I'm really happy with what I have right now, but of course, I'm always reading Stereophile. I'm always reading the Steve Hoffman forums. I'm always thinking about what to upgrade next. So I'm curious if you could let me know down below, if you had this system, what would be your first upgrade? What would be your next upgrade? What would you swap out to do things a little bit differently? Definitely let me know down below. If you like this video and you're not subscribed, please hit that little subscribe button. I do a lot of Grateful Dead unboxing videos, and so if you're a Deadhead like me, might as well stick around. Hit that little subscribe button. But that is it for today, so thank you very much for joining me. Peace. Have a good one.